Good morning. Welcome to this webinar on is it your year to get the new non-lucrative visa in Spain? I'm here with Sun Lawyers, Mark McMillan.
Hello, I'm the relocation manager for Sun Lawyers on the Orihuela Costa.
Brilliant. And we're hoping that we might even get some successful visa applicants to pop in and share their insights on this webinar if we can catch them. But we're going to push on because there's so much information to talk about, how to get the non-lucrative visa. I just saw some figures that there were 4,500 more Brits who moved to Spain in 2022 than 21. It shows that people are getting visas. Brexit has not put them off. And the non-lucrative visa is the most popular visa. I think Mark will agree with me because you're inundated with applications, aren't you, Mark?
Yeah, I've got a lot of non-lucrative visa applicants. We're in the process, and there are a few other visas that I'm applying for as well. But the most common and most people with interest is the non-lucrative.
Brilliant. And just to briefly, Mark, Sun Lawyers, just tell us briefly who you are, what you're doing.
Yeah, we're a law firm established since 1985, so many years of doing all kinds of litigation, real estate, conveyancing, relocation. I've been working since 2008 for Sun Lawyers. Now, as I said, I head the relocation department. We've been, since Brexit, we've switched our service to visas, and we're finding now that we're at the stage where we're doing a lot of renewals. So, this non-lucrative visas for a period of 1 year, and the renewal is a 2-year renewal. But we're finding the time has just flown, and we're doing a lot of renewals.
Great. Well, you and I do a lot of webinars on this subject at Place in the Sun exhibitions, which is how I sort of have got into the subject. But let's go whiz through a lot of information to help people understand the process. Mark, just briefly, can you explain first, what is the non-lucrative visa? Who is it suited for? And what is the main reason that people should go for this visa?
Okay, well, whether you're searching for, warmer climate or, varied and rich culture, Spain on the costas, it's a fantastic option, with its Mediterranean way of life and its lovely people. What is it? It's basically a visa sticker in your passport, which allows you to move to Spain and live there for a period of 1 year. Who's it suited for? Well, retirees. It's perfect for retirees or even whole families. I've had move over to Spain as long as they have the financial means to support themselves, okay, without the need to work. Then they may come over, and there's the option after 1 year to be able to switch to a lucrative. I mean, like a work permit. You'll be able to be self-employed or an employee. Why is it so popular? Well, as we're racing to 2024 and, Christmas we're leaving behind, now's the time for many people who are thinking about the future retirement. So an application for a non-working or retirement, sometimes they call it visa, for Spain is an ideal way forward. What's the main reason for applying for one? Well, second home owners, they may be hanging on to how things will change in the future regarding the 180-day stays, but most retirees are interested in settling in Spain all year round, want to start a new chapter in their lives in a country, greeting them with open arms. You can't forget also the reliable healthcare on offer in Spain,
Okay.
Reasons not to. Well, in the case that you're selling your home or you're organizing your financial affairs, taking maybe tax-free lump sums, things like that, timing's the most important thing here. We need to consider all your financials all in order before you make any move to avoid any surprises from the Spanish tax man.
Okay.
I'm also just going to say, you might only have savings for 1 year, and you hadn't thought about a 2-year renewal. So I always advise clients to have a nest egg, to cover the financial requirements after that first year.
Okay, thanks, Mark. There's lots of information there. I mean, essentially, as you say, it's a visa for people who are not working in Spain, and it's a visa. You don't have to buy a property in Spain to get this visa. You can be renting, and you need a minimum income requirement, which we're going to move on to now when we talk about exactly what you need to get this visa. So Mark, tell us I mean, I think there's up to 11 pieces of paperwork you might need, but could you just run through basically what the key things that people will need to gather together, maybe with your help, to apply for this visa?
Yeah. Basically, we need to show sufficient financial means to be able to live in Spain for both yourself and any dependent family members during that annual period. It's basically, the guidelines say you require 400% of the IPREM. This is basically a base rate. Right now, it's going to be 2,400 euros. As of 2023, it's not increased yet this year, and would need to add 100% of the IPREM for dependent family members. That's 600 euros more. So typically 3,000 euros per month, in periodic non-salaried incomes. We need to verify that too with bank statements, and any shortfall can be provided with a year's worth of savings or some kind of investment. And what we've discovered, the available funds in an overdraft, credit card, or even Spanish title deeds are all considered financial means. So we'll use each and every part of these kind of items if we need. I did have some clients for a renewal who didn't quite have enough, but we used the deeds, we had credit cards, we used everything we could. We got the approvals.
Right.
Okay. Healthcare in Spain. Well, for healthcare, there's public healthcare. Okay, that's in the form of an S1 for eligible passportable healthcare. Someone with a state pension will be able to get that, and their spouse, even though the spouse wasn't at retirement age. Or private health insurance issued by a Spanish registered insurance provider. Thing to note for the private health insurance, it should excuse me, begin on the day that you arrive to Spain with the visa in your passport. Okay. Would also, you'll need to provide evidence of a clean criminal record from all the countries you've lived in the last 5 years. This, for the British residents, will be an ACRO certificate. That will need to be legalized and translated. A medical certificate will be required, legalized and translated, if not done in Spain by a Spanish registered doctor. And the costs to be settled, this can be paid in cash or card. The fee for the visa, £516, that's for UK nationals. An admin fee of £9.45. There is a new company involved in the process called BLS International. They have a fee of £14.55. Passport delivery fee, this is like courier, £24.95. And they also have a service, this BLS company, to send you email and text message notifications.
Great. So I mean, it sounds a lot of paperwork, but with your help, it's not as such a horrifying thought as it might be. What do you, as a company, how do you support people with their application from the word go?
Okay, so we're basically checking into the timing. That's the most important thing. Eligibility. Okay, basically you know, we need to check this paperwork. There are 3 forms to complete too. I'll help clients with that. I've streamlined the ACRO process so that it can be done quite quickly. And basically all the legalization, translation, etc., I'll assist the clients to make sure we get all the paperwork together correctly, in order, and ready for an appointment. Okay, the BLS company I did mention before, that they've taken over from the consulate for the paperwork submission, and basically, you know, when their website works, it's quite an efficient system. You get appointments the following day, okay, and basically you can do a joint appointment as well for, you know, multiple family members all applying together. You'd visit the BLS office, so we would organize the appointment with the client too, and have everything prepared. Once we've got the approval and the visa and the passport, the client has typically around 90 days, because there'll be an expiry date, to get to Spain. And then within arrival to Spain, we have 30 days to book an appointment at the National Police for the TIE. This will be the residence, 1-year residence card. Okay. It's quite important to get an entry stamp to Spain. Okay, I have had clients who arrive via France, so they'll get a French stamp in the passport. So it'd be important to prove when you legally arrive to Spain. So these are the kind of things that I'll be advising clients. They should have at least a year on the passport when they go for the submission of the visa. And basically, another important thing is they won't accept passports older than 10 years. So if you did have extra months added because you renewed early, bear in mind they'll chop those extra months off. So I'll be checking all these things, make sure the client would know, oh, we have to update the passport, or if we need a marriage certificate, for example. In some cases, the applicant, a married couple, will have their own financial means, so we wouldn't need one. So I'll try and reduce the costs as much as I can. We're talking typically around 3,000 euros in total costs for per person, including health insurance if they don't have passportable healthcare, but a lot less for a retired couple, for example, that have an S1 certificate. An S1 is for the passportable healthcare. So we'll guide the clients right through the process, even, you know, all the planning, pre-planning, make sure that they're not going to get clobbered for tax, you know, if they rush too quickly to Spain. So timing is quite important. Paperwork can run out, but it's all these steps that I'll help clients with.
Great. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, it's clear that you know all the little things that could possibly be not acceptable in terms of the paperwork, and that's the key. And the speed, your expertise. I mean, the process has changed so much since we started talking about this, Mark. So clearly it is getting better, I think, isn't it? So
yeah,
a bit more refined.
Yeah. There was an issue from changing from the consulate submissions to the BLS office. So some applications did drag on a bit longer, but typically they would take around, you know, normally 2 to 4 weeks. Would like to greet Yuping and Bruce. They've managed to enter. If they could.
Yeah,
click.
hello. Hello, Bruce.
They're connecting.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Just while they're connecting, that's great advice. We'll move on to questions when we get Bruce and Yuping. Hello.
Hello.
I think there's just a bit of technical. So look, let's just move on with a question, Mark, while we're waiting.
Yeah.
I think we're just waiting for the audio there. So first question, We've slightly alluded to this, Mark. How different is the process now that BLS are processing applications?
Okay, well, there is a slight additional cost for the BLS themselves, but what I've heard from successful applicants, they're quite friendly staff, very nice. They did get some frosty kind of appointments at consulates in the past, but I heard it's quite nice, and they will manage everything, and you know, they will allow you to keep your passport if you need to travel. So it's important to tell them at that moment. And once you have an approval, if you still have your passport, you'll have to take your passport back. They'll glue the sticker into your passport, and then I think the same day they'll be able to be collected. So they're quite not good. The appointment system on their website is not great, but I just like Yuping and Bruce, they just went because we couldn't organize an appointment, and they were able to just walk in and submit the applications. Also, just earlier this week, I had another client just went, and they're accepting walk-ins, so that's quite good.
Brilliant, thank you. And Bruce and Yuping, have I got you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello,
Hey.
welcome both of you. Glad you've signed up. You've arrived in Spain to start your new life. So let's have your brief experience of with Mark, that him getting you a non-lucrative visa. So you are from Norwich, and you're looking to have a life in the sun. I think Bruce, you've had a very you had a varied career in the London Fire Service, and then you've been a driving instructor, and you're ready for a new chapter. Is that right?
Indeed.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Great. So you had a holiday home in Orihuela Costa, and you decided you wanted to move to Spain. You heard about Sun Lawyers through a friend. You got in touch with Mark, and can you just tell us briefly, because Mark, you've missed this, but Mark has sort of talked about the overall process. But how did Mark help you get your visa? I mean, I think you would have struggled on your own to do it. Is that right?
We would have done, yeah. Mark was extremely helpful. He also contacted us many times in the UK and gave us advice. And as we said, we were just on the fringes of going to the Spanish consulate when they changed to BLS, and nobody could get on the website. We had an IT friend of ours, and also my son, who's a bit of a whiz kid, couldn't do it. But as Mark said, we went on the Thursday when there was a Spanish holiday. So we came back to Norwich, went again on the Friday, big long queue, but it was 20 minutes. And we was in front of one of their representatives, and really friendly, loads of advice she gave us, went through everything. And then after that, went home, was told 3 weeks, waiting for our passports and the documents to come back. We was accepted, and within 10 days, we had our passports and the relevant documents. So then we had to wait for Ben, which was the big problem, because they only take flights 2 weeks before we can actually fly. And then 2 weeks before, they notified us that they was on a BA flight, and then we signed up with BA and came out. And at the moment, as you know, we're in Madrid.
I should point out that Ben is a dog.
Yeah, he worked out more expensive than we did.
Yeah.
I think we spent about 3,000 getting everything, and Ben was nearly 2,000.
Yeah. Oh, what a gorgeous Ben. So yeah, I mean, basically, you started getting your paperwork together in July, and then you as the 3 month length of that some of the documents expire after 3 months, and in September you were getting a bit worried, and then you as you say, you tried to get on the website, and then thankfully you walked into the BLS centre. I think that's in the City of London, is it?
Yes, Chancery Lane.
Right. And you walked in and you were seen quickly, as you say. And yeah, I mean, would you say it's been sort of easier than you feared? Because there's a lot of people out there who think it's kind of an impossible process.
Yeah, you've always got a bit of trepidation in the back of your mind, thinking, "Oh, you're going to be accepted." That was the main worry. But obviously, once we received the documentation, we relaxed and then just waited for Ben to get his flight so we could book on the same flight, and obviously proceed on our way to Orwella.
Brilliant. How exciting. And also, your plan, just because this is one of the things before we move on to whizzing through some questions, your plan is for, I mean, you, Bruce, you've worked for so many years and you want to carry on with all your active retirement things, but you, Ping, I think you plan to actually do some work at some point. So your plan is to, after a year, convert to a different visa. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's right. So I have planned to do some work or do some business for a year after. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I was just going to say now, if it's for self-employment, now's a good time. They've arrived. The likelihood of being able to switch and do that process is a lot easier than trying to get it arranged in the Spanish consulate. So after, a plan B would be that you do the renewal, because you do need to show what your first year that you've had your permit for a year. Just plan B, have that renewal in place, just in case of any delays, because sometimes things can take quite a while. But definitely on the 2-year renewal, perfect. You can submit an application to switch to a work permit. Yeah.
Brilliant. And we should just quickly add that Bruce, you got your S1, didn't you? Because you're above UK state pension age, and that entitles both of you to access the Spanish healthcare.
Yes, yeah. My name is initially first, and then just underneath it was Yo-Yo's name. So we're both included on the S1 form. Yo-Yo on her own can't get it, but through me, she can.
Brilliant. Well, look, that's thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to just whiz through a lot of questions we have from people in advance. So stay on if you thanks for sharing that, but stay on if you'd love to. And thanks again.
Okay.
Okay. Right, Mark, we've got a lot to get through. Let's go for number 2. How long are applications taking at the moment?
Well, it's quite a varied answer. As you saw from Yuping and Bruce, they did do it quite quickly, so that was very good. They do give themselves 3 months legally to be able to process the paperwork, but in my experience, it's been 2 to 4 weeks, but longer. Well, in some cases that did occur when they switched from the consulate. A client had submitted paperwork at the consulate and then BLS took over, so there was a little bit of a delay there. But I normally tell clients 2 to 4 weeks. That's the kind of period I'll calculate, normally about a month, when we're calculating when we should start the process, because there are certain periods in time that we can use to your advantage. In the case you need to wait until January because you're selling your house, there's 90 days to get to Spain, but also we can consider around a month to get the approval, and the 3-month period for some of the documents. So, it's timing, as I'll just repeat again, is the most important thing, and it's the first thing that we'll look at when I meet clients.
Thanks. Right, number 3. Can you apply in Birmingham for a non-lucrative visa?
Well, not in person to a BLS office, but BLS do offer a doorstep service for people who want the convenience to send the documentation via email, get the go ahead from the BLS, and they will send their representative to your house or your office to collect the original. So yes, but with that a special service. Obviously, it's at an extra cost.
Great, thank you. And then the next thing actually applies to also what Bruce and you Ping are going to do next is when you're in Spain, you need to exchange the visa for a TIE card, don't you? How does that work?
Well, basically, you have 30 days to book an appointment. You know, maybe you're not going to go to the National Police within the 30 days, but at least have it booked, okay, as of the entry stamp in the passport. So I prefer, as I said before, clients to get a Spanish stamp, and otherwise we need to prove when the client legally arrived to Spain. And as I said, book within 30 days the appointment. This is at the National Police. They'll check your they'll take a scan of your fingerprints, and around 4 weeks later, you'll be able to collect your TIE card.
Thank you. I understand you have to spend a minimum of 6 months in Spain in the first year. Is that correct?
Yes, basically for a renewal, you should not have had more than 6 month absences from Spain. Okay, in the case that you miss a stamp in your passport if you're going on a holiday, because you can leave Spain, you know, in the case you miss stamps, it might look like, hey, you had an overstay out. So, I have had to appeal certain rejections due to that kind of issue, or even, you know, if you had a valid reason that you had to be out of the country with that valid paperwork. I did have an appeal approved due to the client having to be more than 6 months out of the country. This is when we went to the renewal.
Right.
So, you know, as long as we have a valid reason, then you may be 6 months out, but typically you shouldn't show more stamps in your passport leaving the Schengen area.
Great, thank you. Pass the financial means test. Do you have to have 12 months money up front, or can you show a pro rata monthly amount?
Well, clients normally, I'll advise you can show either or monthly incomes, non-salaried monthly incomes, or the savings for that period of the permit. So for the visa, 1 year's worth of savings, or a combination of both. Imagine you had half the funds, a married couple, 1,500 in pensions, for example, or an investment drawdown. Then we're short 1,500, times that by 12, and you'll find out how much we'd need in savings.
Great. I think you've touched on this already, but other than pensions, savings, investments, any other sources of income acceptable for financial means? What about if you have a buy-to-let in the UK?
Well, if you have rental income, this is going to be acceptable for the visa. They'll actually accept available overdraft as like savings, or even credit card available funds. And in one case, I had a client with lower incomes and savings. We presented the title deeds, the Spanish title deeds, because that is considered financial means as well. Really, how much to quantify, I can't really say, but we had the approvals submitting the deeds.
Okay, thanks. And you've alluded to this again briefly already, but if if someone's got the year one financial means, what about if they can't show twice the amount for years 2 and 3? Has this been a problem for some?
Yes, we did have some issues. I did have rejections. We've appealed and we've got approvals. What I have prepared is an Excel spreadsheet in Spanish, and it's totally detailed. It's transparent, and they're quite like that at the immigration office in Spain. And as long as we can clearly present and we can show that they had sufficient sum, if they don't have the incomes, or like I said, credit card, deeds, you know, I would present all this paperwork. And even, you know, well, each client is an island. It's really, you know, has its own pluses and minuses, and I have to tailor their applications or their renewals according to their situation. Yeah.
Brilliant. And well, it just shows you that some people are tempted to spend all the money when they sell their UK home, but it's good to have that, you know, it's good to have some a nest egg, some savings, isn't it? So
exactly. That's
brilliant.
plan
Okay.
B, nest egg, in case, you know, just in case don't spend it all. We'll have to consider the renewal.
And if someone drops out after 1 year, are there any repercussions?
Well, we'll have to look at the timing and seeing about their tax situation. We do have a tax department to help clients, but imagine the client said, okay, I want to return. What we normally do is a cancellation of the TIE card. I get the client to sign some documents. We preferably cancel padron. This is a certificate in the local town hall saying that you're living somewhere, and tell the tax office the client left such and such a date, just to be able to close all the doors and not have, you know, the tax office or the immigration chasing you maybe for unpaid taxes, just to really close, you know, finalize things properly, not just leave and then leave a trail of you know, finished things. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. There'll be a lot of people here who might have a spouse, partner with an Irish or European passport. What's the process if one of you is, you know, married to someone with an EU passport?
They're like gold dust. Your EU spouse and lets you move to Spain without a visa. Okay. Normally, you should be able to accompany your spouse in the Schengen area, but you should the spouse should apply for residency as a European citizen, and off the back of that spouse and a marriage certificate or civil partner certificate, or even, you know, there are a notarized civil partnerships act would be acceptable to include the spouse. So you don't need a visa. You can just
it's a lot easier. So
and get a family member TIE valid for 5 years, and you'll be able to work.
Brilliant. Do I need an address in Spain before starting the application process?
Typically, a lot of clients are either buying a property or they're going to come over to Spain, and that might be a good time to find somewhere to live. Obviously, you need to live somewhere. A rental, or let's say you're in mid-purchase of a property, I would use that address. It's a temporary address, but I prefer if a client could have some kind of evidence of or proof of that address too.
Okay.
Such as deeds, rental contract, or purchase contract even.
Brilliant. I know you helped Bruce and Yu Ping getting their medical certificate in Spain. I mean, when we first talked about this process, people were asking their GPs for it, and they were going to have to get one for £90 from a private doctor. Why is it cheaper in Spain?
Basically, a medical certificate in Spanish by a Spanish registered doctor. You don't need to legalize it with an apostille, nor make a sworn translation. So there's a lot of savings in that respect. We've found also over these years since Brexit that a lot of GPs are not willing to do it, or they're not registered with the Foreign Office. So it can sort of drag on. It's very easy for a client just to come over, you know, if they can meet me for 1 to 2 hours, we can start everything, you know, the whole process, start the criminal record check, get the medical certificate done, get all the documents and papers ready, and they can return to the UK, you know, almost just pending some documents to go to the consulate, the BLS office.
Great.
So,
on costs, we've alluded to the fact of, you know, the question is sort of how much does this whole process cost? I mean, you mentioned €3,000. I think Bruce and Yu Ping said €3,000 for both of them.
Yeah. Well, 3,000 would include a private health insurance.
Right.
This is the kind of typical kind of costs. So as I said, Bruce and well, without the need and with an S1, they've saved quite a lot in the costs.
Brilliant. Okay. And can you use any private healthcare provider for medical insurance if you're, you know, like you Ping and you are below the state pension age?
Well, it needs to be via a Spanish registered insurance provider. So in the case, let's example, an international policy, I found for some clients that the paperwork can't be available in Spanish. So maybe they are registered in Spain, but we'll have to translate all the the paperwork. So a lot of added costs. So we prefer someone to do a policy in Spain. There are brokers here. Also, maybe you have a bank account. Your bank could offer you a policy. So it's quite good to get some quotes and you can choose which kind of policy. But it needs to be fully paid up for 1 year. Start date should be when you plan to arrive to Spain with a visa.
Great, thank you. Once you arrive in Spain to get your TIE card, what are you free to travel throughout the Schengen zone even before you've got your TIE?
Well, to be honest, there's no border. The Schengen area, there is no border. But you know, if you're processing your residence permit, your card, you are actually still bound by the 90-day rule in the rest of the Schengen area. But you know, some clients that may be able to spend €500,000 to get the investor permit wouldn't have that. But on a non-lucrative, you are still bound by the 90-day rule in the rest of the Schengen area.
Okay, thanks. Now, what happens if my application is rejected?
We do have a month to appeal. Okay, so I ask clients, please send me the letter of rejection. I need to know when you received it so that we can prepare, you know, an appeal. Maybe the grounds are fine, or maybe you have something that we can resolve. So, you know, we do have a month to appeal that decision. So this is something I recommend clients. Send me the letter, the date you signed for it, and then we can plan the appeal.
Yeah, I've encountered some people who've had appeals and maybe due to a minor police incident in their past, and they've actually then got their visa. So it does work, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
You can appeal.
You can appeal. I did have clients who may have something in the criminal record check, but I found that according to some of the consulates, they will accept a local, like a DBS check. Make sure you've cleaned for 5 years, because they're really interested in the last 5 years. If you squeaky clean for the last 5 years, we should be able to get an approval.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. And then if you're in Spain happily on your non-lucrative visa, and this might be relevant to Bruce, at what point in your first year do you then have to start planning your renewal?
Well, you're entitled to submit an application to the immigration office 60 days before the expiry date on your TIE, and up to 90 afterwards. So we do have a 5-month period, you know, to do it, but clients typically prefer doing it earlier rather than later in case we need to chase some other documentation. But we've got 60 days before the expiry date, up to 90 after. You're not going to be fined, you know, the day after your expiry date. We do have those 90 days. So as long as we get, and it's an online renewal, as long as we submit the online renewal, then even if we're missing a document, we can sort of buy time getting it submitted on time. For example, if they're missing the marriage certificate, then they typically will require you in 10 days to obtain it, and we do have a company in UK that can do it quite quickly.
Right.
A certificate, they can get a certificate, legalize, and even translate it. But you've got up to 90 days after as well.
Right. Well, you seem to have all the answers to any of the possible problems that come up. And just before we go, Bruce, I see you've patiently stayed there. Any tips, any final bits of advice for anyone listening to this and thinking, you know, do they go for this process? Do they try and, you know, move to Spain this year?
Well, listen to Mark, get in touch with Mark and go through all your various details. And obviously, as you probably noticed there, he's very knowledgeable. And I don't see any problems, really. I'm getting on a bit in years. So I found it quite easy, to be quite honest with you. It was, as I said earlier, a bit of trepidation waiting for the information back, the documentation. But once that came, everything was been plain sailing.
Brilliant.
So
and you're looking forward to your life in Spain, where things, you were telling me, are a lot more affordable, and you can enjoy your very sporty life in a great climate.
Yes, yes. We're just obviously, as I said earlier, we're in Madrid at the moment, going to Orihuela tomorrow, and obviously we've got some work to do in the place, and we're waiting for our boxes to come. And we've rented our place out furnished, so we didn't have any large amount to send to Spain. So yeah, looking forward.
Brilliant. Well, good luck with everything, and thank you for coming on to share that. And I think we've run out of time, Mark. So basically, you've got a lot of people interested. So I think the best way is for people to email you, isn't it, if they're interested in applying, so that you can deal with all this interest.
Yeah, we can set up a free first consultation, look at your personal situation to make sure the eligibility, the financial means, etc. And you know, if you're thinking in the next few months to start the process, definitely get in touch ASAP. I can go through taxation, inheritance. I've done many positions with Sun lawyers, so I'm a fountain of knowledge to guide you on your journey.
Thank you. And we'll be doing sessions on visas in Ascot next month, Manchester in March, London in May. So there's lots of opportunities to come and chat to all these experts. So anyway, thank you, Sun Lawyers. Thank you, Bruce and Yu Ping. Good luck with everything. We hope that's been useful for everyone. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Bruce, and that. We'll be in touch.
Bye.
Hi. So